my dog's eating himself, so I had to check him, make sure his flea and tick prevention was still working.
Nice.
Yeah.
I've been there. I just got back myself, so don't need to apologize. Like, we went to like a buddy's house one day. His animals are scratching like crazy, and I'm like, oh, we are so fucked if there's like any kind of fleas in our socks. Then one day, my fiance, who used to be a vet tech, she was like combing one of our cats, the white fluffy one, so it's really easy to spot like tick detritus or anything moving on him. She's like combing his hair, and you see like a little black dot just scurry away. She's like, oh fuck.
Speak of the devil.
Papa dog. It's playtime. It was a cute dog. Yeah. It was a cute dog.
Oh, thanks. Hey, come here. Come here.
Oh.
There he is. That's my boy. Yeah, he'll sit here and hang out with you.
So cute.
Yeah, that's my friend.
Audrey, my fiance Audrey, really wants a greyhound because they're like the cats of the dog world. She wants to adopt one for the track. Actually,
I had a friend of mine. He lives in Illinois though, but he has his parents. They have a greyhound, and they got a retired racing dog. And it was really crazy too because they were like, yeah, he stopped racing a couple years ago, and they lifted up one of his ears, and he still had because they give all of them tattoos of in regards to who their owner is and whatever the case may be for it. But he still had the tattoo, of course. But yeah, he was a legit greyhound racing dog.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Now he just I don't know if he's still alive anymore, but now the last time I saw him, he was just living the life of luxury, just lounging around the house all day and doing whatever he wanted. Hey, stop.
Sorry, texting Richard because he's still struggling on Express stuff. He's gonna go stress sleep and then come back. As we did do that one-on-one, I'm like, okay.
You want to see if he wants to join this one?
No, he says he doesn't want to do one right now.
Oh.
I'm gonna step away from coding for a few hours. What's the latest I can one-on-one with you? I'm like, if you're gonna be up late, I'll be up late. Yeah.
Yeah, I tried last night. I guess from the night before where I tried to stay up and tried to catch up. I literally, Matt put me to sleep after watching the videos around 4 o'clock, and then my wife had me up at 6 because her internal clock is still on her normal wake up schedule. And last night I got done with dinner at 6:30, and Tamara put a movie on, and she was like, just take a break for that for a second, eat, and and then go back to it. I was like, all right. Terrible mistake, because as soon as I got done eating, she said she looked over, and I was just and I was out. Got that full stomach, got the fat puppy dog syndrome.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm also pretty bad about that. Laying down and just conked.
Yeah, and I was out until this morning. But it was much needed though.
Yeah, so. Some natural debugging,
Yeah.
I don't know what he's not getting. Anyway, all good. Okay. Express.
Yep.
Writing our own API. Second share.
Cool.
Okay. Let's make this a smaller screen. Boom. Let's minimize, move our gallery out of the way because I'll probably need the full screen later. Okay, so let's cd into my helping students directory. We're going to make one called Express Fun. And we're going to cd into it. Check, we're in there. Yep, we good. And we're going to start a new node project, which is npm init. Blah, 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 blah. Yes. We are Dunskies setting up the NodeJS project. Now, like I told you guys, Node is the backbone that Express is built on. Remember when I did the walkthrough with you and Nathan, I told you about const HTTP equals require HTTP, and it creates an HTTP server that can listen on a port that can take get, post, put, delete requests, right?
Yeah.
That's possible. We could write a node HTTP create server and write everything inside of it as one giant function. But that's not very scalable in a large project, is it? So the fun people at NodeJS have made and maintained their own module called Express. And that's exactly what it sounds like. How can I expressly and quickly get a server up and running with as few lines and possible that is scalable the more we start adding to it? And the magic they've come up with is called Express. It's not automatically, it's not part of the core package of Node, so it's something we have to install. And because it's going to be a dependency for this fucker to run, it's install -- save Express. Go.
So I'm going to do this a little bit different than I have been with you, because Express seems to be something that I need, and I need to get a full grasp of it. So
Yeah.
while you're going through this, bear with me, because I'm going to be doing the same thing you are.
Okay. So I won't go hella fast like I normally do. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Let me create a new file real quick.
Yeah. You go ahead and copy these steps. I'm telling Richard not to stress about this. If he doesn't get it, just make the lab work, move on, skip it, get towards databases, and then we'll worry about coming back later, you know, so.
Okay. And I'm going to call this Express Fun as well.
Good idea. I like that. It's like self-fulfilling prophecy. You say it enough, it's going to become true, right?
Yep. So let's pick that up. Let's open up a new terminal. And that's what I'm in. So Express Fun, npm init. Cool. Yes. Boom. 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 What? New minor version of npm available.
I typically recommend you update them, but don't stress about it. If you want to do it later and just get the project up and running, it should be fine.
Okay. Okay. So then, so after all that, hit OK. Yeah. All right. Some package.json is downloaded. Now I need to do npm install -- save. Sweet.
Cool, you ready?
Yep.
Okay, cool. I was telling Richard, like, you know, you struggled on React for a couple days and didn't know where to start, and then I had that like walkthrough of like, we're gonna code this shit from scratch and build an entire web app that tangentially touches upon the lab but doesn't give you the direct answer, right? To talk about concepts, you could stop me and ask questions, and you got an idea of like workflow. Do this, then this, write out this code, then fill out some JSX, test it, it works, fill it out further, etc. I'm hoping maybe if I download the Covalence boilerplate and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna make my own Chirper store. It's not gonna be like Chirper. I'll call it something else. Like I'll call it my blog lab, and just I'll go in and rewrite Chirp store to be blog store or something like that, and see if I can't do that same style of like bootstrap the project from the ground up as an example for him to learn from, and see if that he picks it up. Because All right, whatever. I'm thinking ahead. My bad. You know, if you haven't noticed that about me, I tend to jump around a lot.
I'm actually gonna put on my headset. They're finished building the house next to me, and all I can hear now is the construction of the trucks.
Ooh, nice.
I wonder if my mic's working.
Well, some microphone is working. I don't know which one it is for you, though. Oh, that tasted bad. I'm sorry. Also, shouldn't have shared that with you.
No, you're good.
Actually, whatever. You've met me in person. You know I'm ridiculous as it is.
So
I think you've gotten to know me well enough.
Can you hear me just fine?
Yeah.
Oh, well, it's my computer microphone. Damn thing. Waste of fucking $50.
Looks cool though.
Oh, appreciate it. Appreciate it. That's all that matters, right? It doesn't matter if it works, as long as it's cool, I can.
Exactly. So did you do an npm init, npm install -s save express?
Yes, I did. So
Do all the above?
Yep. npm init is done. Created the package.json, and then did the express. Cool. Yep.
Sick. Let's begin coding.
All right. My code dot doesn't work, so let's go ahead.
That's so weird. You said it worked earlier, right?
It did. Like, I mean, when I first did it, because what was it? There was a certain lab that we did where, Jackson was teaching it, and he was like, if you haven't done this, go ahead and, install it or create the shortcut. And I was like, all right. Well, I tried it and everything was working. And
maybe something got updated and it got messed up.
Maybe.
Hold on. I can't remember how to do it. So in VS Code, open the command palette. I guess Shift Apple P.
Yep.
And type shell command to find the shell command, which will look like
shell command. Shell command install code command in path. Yeah.
Yeah, you have that, right?
Yeah, it said it was recently used. But here, I'll click on it and see what it does. Okay, it says it's installed again.
Again, recently used for somehow.
I don't know, unless someone's hacked my computer and is using it without my knowledge. But
it's been me the whole time.
God, I knew it. No wonder my code looks so good.
So I'll come in like when you're sleeping and like space it out and format it and add some stuff. You're like, man, I did really well last night. That'd be the strangest possible troll I could do, but whatever. We're gonna create two directories. Jumping back into it here.
Yeah, I know.
Adding a client and a server, both at the root, because the server will be hosting our server code. The client will be hosting our client code.
Did you did folders?
Two directories, right?
Okay. So client and server.
In client, let's go ahead and throw in an index.html.
Oops. No. Delete. Oh, close that. And client. Index.html. All right. And a hello world.
I'm going to go ahead and include a link for some CSS because I like having it be very obvious my shit's running as I expect it is.
So just as a sidetrack while I'm setting this up, you were talking this morning about in MySQL about it not auto completing when you're writing stuff. Yeah. I'm not gonna like that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I just gave the body a background color of Navajo white, and I'm going to give it a text color of something like red, just to make it all very obvious if it's working or not, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And to test that I have the style sheet linked up, I'm going to manually open my index.html, and I do. Very obvious if the page works or not, right? Cool.
Hold on. Okay. I had this.
You caught up?
Yeah, but my CSS isn't allowing me to styles.css, style sheet, styles.css, styles.css, background color, background dash color, colon, not why. Don't just let me just.
You'll start getting confused of like where you camel case, where you double quote, where you don't quote, and this all go all over the place.
Or when you use parentheses instead of curly braces.
Yeah, that'll do it too.
Okay, I'm tracking now. I'm sorry.
Okay. Yeah, we're done in the client folder. That's all we're ever gonna do. Bother with. KO.
Okay.
Let's begin coding our server.js.
Server.
Because before we were just messing with Node stuff in the previous lab. Just some cool functions that Node can work and do for us. Express is built on Node.js and uses the HTTP server, but it makes the syntax for it and like an import-export structure much, much easier to deal with. And it allows us to write our own middleware for it and use it when we need to. So we have installed Express, so I now have access to it, and we have to import the package into this file as such. Const express equal require, guess what? Express. Cool.
Got it.
Blah, 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 blah. Hold on.
Can't type today.
Oh, you should have seen me when I was on the one-on-one with Richard after helping Robin this morning. I was like, he was constantly correcting typos, and I'm like, see, if you can figure this out, what I'm doing, you can figure out yours too. Like, you see how many mistakes I make, and I've been doing this for a while. So there's no reason to stress about it,
Well, that's the same issue I had, in regards to dealing with stuff in React and everywhere before that. Like when I was watching you do stuff or watching anyone do anything, I can sit there and read it all day long and fully understand it. And I can pick out errors and stuff like that. But when it came down time to me actually writing my own, it was like deer in the headlights.
Let's start writing shit. That's all I gotta say to that. Just go. Don't think about it. Just type.
Yeah.
So we brought an Express, correct?
Yep, I did.
Now we have to create a new Express server. How the fuck are we gonna create an Express server? Well, we can actually do it in one line. The most common convention is to call it app. So let app equal new Express server. Done. You have now created your first HTTP server, my friend. Congratulations. You've done it in 2 lines. So people that shit on Node.js, and they're like, you should learn Ruby. It's way better than Node. You're like, well, I get my server running in 2 lines. Somebody's to take you, asshole, which is like 15 to 20.
Hey, off the top of your head, do you know how to zoom in on a Mac? The hotkey for it?
Apple Plus.
So Apple Shift Plus.
Or just Apple Plus. I don't know. One of the two. Did it work?
Okay. Yeah.
Or is break all your code?
No.
Okay.
I tried to figure something out. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, you good, bro? You
So-
good? Man, you good, man?
So I created my first
Server.
server.
Dunskies.
Dunskies. Okay.
Now, if you want to run it, you have one more line, and this line will typically be at the bottom of your code.
Hold on. I think I know what it is. If I'm not mistaken, is it app.listen and then whatever the well, for us it'd be 3000 because I'm doing it on localhost.
There you go. Well, the
Whatever
port number doesn't matter. Yeah. 3000 is a common testing port along with port 8080. Those are your common test shit out ports. And so real enterprise level applications typically don't use those in order to make sure they're not interfering with development ports. But
Okay.
good job. But I'll show you something cool that I think we can do. So do 3000 like this, comma, a second argument, which will be nothing. And we're just creating an anonymous arrow function, right? Just like any other time we do an arrow function, correct?
Yeah.
And it's going to do a console log.
Oh, hold on.
And just hardwire this. There we go. This way, when our app runs, it will fire off the console log to confirm that it's actually running. Because if we don't have this in here, then in our terminal, it just has a blank line, which indicates that it's running. But we don't know that. We don't have like a visual cue. You know what I mean? So if we come back here now and do node server/server.js in our terminal, and we hit enter, we see listening on port 3000 and then the blank line. So we now have like a visual cue that our server is up and running correctly. So you've made your first server, dude, and you're running it out of your house. Pretty cool, right? If you gave me your IP and MAC address, I think I can actually come and talk to your server if we enabled some middleware. But for right now,
we'll try that at the end.
For right now, they'll take some middleware that I'm not sure how to use, but as usual, I can probably figure it out overnight and come back tomorrow and be like, hey, check this out. Talk to each other through servers. It's like the most like nerd thing we can do. All right, but we got it running. So I'm gonna close out of it because every time we make a change to our server code, we have to restart it, right? Ugh. But that was just to test that the server is listening on port 3000, fires as it should. Yeah?
All right.
Cool. Clearing my terminal, going back to our code.
Server. Sweet. Okay.
So the bulk of our logic is going to be happening in between where you declare the new server and then where you listen for it on a port. That's where we're going to start programming any middleware you want to use and then what the responses are for your custom programmed routes. Yeah?
Okay.
Let's see. The simplest, so we can code routes as you kind of watched today, me do during, no, not today, yesterday, when you watched me kind of program some of the chirp routes and the people routes and show like how it's organized. Well, before we get that far, we can code in generic HTTP requests on our base level app. We don't have to specify a custom /API route that links to other routes, that links to other routes, and blah, 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 blah. We can keep it in one file for now at its simplest. And here is how you do it. Do app, and then the type of request. And the most simple one to start with is get. And you know get, post, put, delete?
Mm-hmm.
Those are called, that's a RESTful API. Those are CRUD methods. Get information, post or add new information. Put is edit information. Delete is delete information. Yeah, simple. I like how that's the most obvious one besides get. But yeah. App.get will take two parameters, two arguments. The first one is a string that will be a route you specify. /butthole, /fun, / doesn't, the home route, the original route, doesn't matter.
Okay.
Let's just do the original route like that.
Okay.
The second argument will be a callback function that has 2 parameters built into Express servers. One called rec, one called res. And it's going to be a callback function. So we're going to do an arrow and our curlies, open up the space, and now we can start coding a response. So 2 things fire off when we go onto localhost 3000 / aka the home root. If we type it into our browser, that by default is a GET request. So this function will go, hey, my localhost on 3000 just got a GET request from our Chrome browser because we went to localhost 3000 / and that is fires the request argument, where then we can do some stuff with rec if we wanted to. Then when we're done doing some code here, we typically send a response, which is the response. And then there's an optional parameter that you will learn later called next, or not capital letters, my bad, next. I don't use it a whole lot, but it's saying, hey, there's no response from this, so we're going to go to the next bit of the code. Because typically it'll go into this code block right here on my line 6 in the middle here, and it'll run your logic, run your JavaScript code, do some stuff. And if it sends a response, it goes, okay, the response is sent, this code block is done, going down the line to make sure nothing else needs to happen, right?
Okay.
And so if you happen to have a route that doesn't have a response that fires, it'll get stuck inside the route and sit there with an infinite loop, essentially. It'll go, okay, listening for response, but you never programmed a response, so it gets stuck. If you have a route that has no response, you can just type in the word like this, like next, and it will say, okay, this thing will go ahead and move on to the next bit of code, even though there's no response from it. You don't use it a whole lot. Middleware uses it, but when you're writing your own routes, you typically don't use that a lot. But I'll show you an example of what to do to use next. So let's go back down to simplified. I just wanted you to be aware next was a thing, right?
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so why don't we make this real easy? Let's just res has several methods on it, and you can kind of see a couple of them. You have send file, you have send status, send code, send, you have a dot status, I think, a dot status code. And a dot send is the easiest one to start with. And we can send JSON objects, JavaScript variables, or something as simple as, I don't know, a string.
Okay.
Let's do a string.
Okay.
We have a hello world in the front end, right?
Mm-hmm.
So why don't we do a hello from server land? Because now we are responding from the back end of the process, of the stack. And as you know, working with me, I'm a big proponent of we made a small change, let's test it, right?
Okay.
So we've made some change to our server code. So we go back into our terminal, and we're going to run node on our server.js file, listening on port 3000. Let me know when you're there.
So
Yeah.
I still have my listening on port 3000 open.
So you're going to have to do, I guess, is it Control-C that quits?
Yeah. Okay. And then
rerun it again. Yeah.
Oh.
You'll get used to doing Control-C, up arrow to do the last command, then enter. That's what I do. So like Control-C stops it, up arrow.
Yeah, I was wondering how you were going through it so fast a while back. So, and I accidentally hit the up arrow, and it went to the last thing. I was like, oh, figured it out.
And you're like, Luke, you cheeky bastard. It's amazing how all these tiny little shortcuts will end up saving so much time in the long run, you know?
Oh, this course has showed me so many shortcuts that I didn't know I had on my computer.
I love it.
It's amazing.
Okay, so we're ready. Ready to test this?
Yeah, so we just go to localhost 3000.
Mm-hmm. Here we go. Actually,
and hello from serverland.
You got it?
Yeah.
Oh my God, I can't spell there. Hey, we're good. You have now successfully coded and ran and customized your own response from a server.
Heyo.
How fucking sick is that, man? Pretty cool, right?
Starting to feel like a developer.
Yeah, I think that's really sick. I mean, that's as simple as you can possibly get, and we got it up and running like in 10, 15 minutes, including some downtime of talking and explaining, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. I like it a lot.
It's really fast.
Mm-hmm.
It's not hard.
No, it's not.
Like,
It's very programmatic. It's systematic in how it works, you know?
God, this is right up my alley compared to front end stuff.
Sorry, I'm typing something I will.
Oh no, you're fine. You're fine. Like, yeah, this is.
There's another guy in boot camp working on this, and he's trying to use path, but he imported it as PAH and not PATH. So his code's not working. He can't figure out why. I'm like, I want to give him the answer, but I'll be like, just look at your spelling, dude. You know?
Yeah, just which you've done that
Yeah.
to me before. You've just gone back and said you need to go back and check your wording.
Okay, anyway, back to our garbage here. We have written a successful little route here that does some stuff for us.
Okay.
Let's see. Okay, found it, thank God. Well, what else can we do? We can't really post anything yet. Can't do that. Okay, so, well, you know, when we code our React project, when we went to localhost 3000, in my example yesterday, it automatically served a file for us, right? I was like, well, how do we link this? Like, how do we make it so if we go to localhost 3000, it automatically loads a index page for us or some HTML that we can then write some functions in that might talk to our server locally, right? Like, how do we do this? How is this done?
Hold on. No, wait. I'm not tracking what you're saying. You waiting on me?
Yeah, I thought you were trying to find the answer still.
Oh, no. I meant like what are you like when you were talking about, you know, pulling up like when you pull up the page and you have some type of HTML document or whatever. I don't remember you talking about that. Like,
okay. So it's going to be called a middleware. It's going to tell our app to use something that does something.
Oh, I get it. Okay, I'm sorry.
So we're going to code some middleware, and I think you can put it on the top or the bottom. Doesn't matter. Typically, you put middleware near the top and not the bottom. So let's try and follow that and see if it works, shall we?
Okay, I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying now. My fault.
There you go. Put in some comments that you can look at. This is like the way it typically flows downwards. You create the server, you apply middleware that we either code ourselves or we download. We program our routes or import our routes when we get that far ahead, and then we run the server, and that's all there is to it.
Got it.
Okay. So this middleware is built into Express.
Okay.
Okay, and we'll actually need something else for it. But okay, before we get there, so we're gonna do express.static, and there it is, static. Does it have a definition? This is a built-in middleware function in Express. It serves static files and is based on serve static. Interesting. So it can serve some static files, which would be this client folder, because these are some just files that exist in our directory, in our project directory, that we want to serve when the server runs. So, you know, serverland requires absolute pathing, and we don't want to deal with that garbage, so what are we going to put at the top? What was our tool to get around absolute paths?
Hold on.
You got it. I mean,
Hold on.
const something requires something.
To get around absolute paths?
What's the tool we used?
Um,
You know it. Just spit it out.
I know.
Come on. It's in the name.
You put me on the spot. Express.
No.
Oh.
Getting around paths. I think that was the doorbell. Hold on.
Path.
Yeah, that's it. Go ahead and import that. I'll be right back.
Good Lord. Eventually I'm going to get this right. Good God.
Yo, I bought a khaki flight suit for my Ghostbusters costume I'm trying to build.
Oh, sweet.
I'll try and build that later.
Um.
Anyway, yeah, path. I was like, it was so obvious. You were probably overthinking it. You're like, what?
Yeah, I was like, absolute path. Like, what are you talking about? Oh man, that's gonna be one of them days.
All good. You know it though. So we have path now imported. Now we got to use it. So express.static takes an argument of the static files we're trying to serve, which would be the absolute path to the directory, which nobody wants to deal with, correct? So we circumvent that by doing path.join. Now doing it in line like this is possible, but it gets nasty. So for your sake, how about we do something like this? It's going to be considered a global variable, so it's going to be constant because we don't want to accidentally change it. And we'll give it capital letters to make this easy to find out. We're going to call it client dir, or client dir. Yeah, client dir. There you go. The client directory.
Got it.
Which will be a path.join of our current directory.
Their name.
So to get to client, it's 1 up and then client. So 1, 2, client. Cool. We now have a const that we can use for that. So serve static files from client dir. There we go.
Oh, it's down here at the bottom. Okay.
There. Right. Let's see. There's so much activity on both HQ and Covalent's alumni channel. I keep hearing bimps and I keep thinking, making sure it's not someone asking for me. Anyway, as always, we've added a new middleware using Express Static, which serves static files from a directory. So when we run this thing, it will serve these files from our server. Okay. So we're going to come back and turn off our server and rerun it. And then we're going to go to localhost 3000 now. And let's see what the response looks like.
Oh, I got to refresh.
Yeah.
Whoa. Hello.
Yeah. Dude, we have just done our first little instance of what's essentially a server-side rendering.
Did you change? Oh, you did. You changed the color of your text.
I did.
Okay. Oh, I need to. It's probably something I should have running right now.
Pretty cool though, right?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
What is failed to load resource? The server responded with the status of 404 not found.
Do you have the .. client?
Yes.
Okay, it's app.use parentheses express.static client directory double close quotes, right?
Correct.
Path.join underscore underscore, 2 underscores their name.
Correct.
Is your architecture the same as mine? Is client accidentally nested in server? Or are they separate?
No, client node modules, server,
Okay.
server.js is in there, all that.
Did you test your index.html if your styles.css was linked to it properly or no?
Checking it right now. Index.html, link, relative, style sheet, reference is styles.css.
You got 4.0. Did you rerun your server after closing it?
I did. I'll do it again. Let me Control C, run the server, refresh, and now it went away.
Okay, cool. Well, I was gonna unshare so I could look at your screen, but if we're back up and running, yay!
Yeah, that was really weird.
Hooray! It was just like, it's like we can't have this work first time out. Come on.
Oh no, never.
That's not how this journey works.
Absolutely not. They got to make it fun for you.
No, forget that. And nobody wants to deal with that mess. Trying to think, what's something cool we could do
in regards to displaying on the on the web page. Can I just throw something random out there and see if we can
yeah.
All right. What if we wanted to add like just anything random, right?
Well, almost anything. I also make sure that's applicable to using something on our server and possibly our index code. And we'll have to probably make an app.js if it's any kind of functionality.
Using our index code.
I mean, I will eventually. I'm trying to think of the simplest possible way to get something cool to pop up, somewhat dynamically. Make a new file called app.js to start in client, because we'll probably include some code here in a second.
Okay.
Also, index HTML, blah, 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 blah. Did I not bring in? Well, Bootstrap will be nice, but I don't care about that. What was the jQuery thing? We haven't done that in a while, have we?
What? Use jQuery?
Yeah, there it is.
No, I hadn't done it in a while.
I'm gonna DM you. Not Will. Whoops. DM Will the fucking jQuery script. He's like, why? I'm gonna paste that into the bottom of our body.
Okay. Where's my index? HTML. Boom. Okay.
Oh, by the way, what was your idea? Because I kind of railroaded you.
Oh no, you're good. I mean, mine was just gonna be like, we just used something that it was basically implemented something that we had just done in like the first Node lab. Like download an image and then take it and then put it and have it to where it renders on the screen whenever.
We'd have to have a button click because we don't have anything like state that we can manage to cause a re-render. So we have to have a button that clicks and pulls a certain file. That could be something we could do. Well, go ahead. All right, let's see. Think, Luke. Think. Okay, so have you brought in jQuery?
Yeah, it's in.
You got an app.js created?
Yes, sir.
So below jQuery, we'll need another script that will be source will be app.js. That way we have our script now attached to it, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's such a weird formatting for that script. It's so weird. There. I like having one line.
Mine's, there we go. Mine's not auto-correcting or auto-completing though. So.
Let's have a paragraph tag. It's going to have an ID of test in our HTML, okay? Racking my brain. That should be fine. And then above the paragraph tag, it's going to be a button. It says click me.
Okay.
Shit. Think, Luke, you moron. I did this before. I literally did this like 3 days ago. I should know how to do this. Let's see. Where's the button? Button. Who's got the button? Chirp. Post. Okay, cool. The button will have an on click, kind of like it did in React, except it's not capitalized. It's just ONCLICK, one word.
Oh,
all
because I
lowercase.
capitalized it, but then
Yeah,
IntelliSense
it was like na. And it's gonna have a function we're going to write.
Huh.
And JS, and it's going to be called get. Does it need double quotes? No. Okay, that should be valid. Or does it need double quotes? Now I'm confused. Hold on. Leave it as single quotes on yours. I'm testing.
Oh, mine. I always use double quotes on mine. And
okay, cool. I guess it recognizes this is going to be calling a JavaScript function, right?
Because mine's set up as a string, like it just says get text.
Okay. Cool. Okay, we've got that set up. Just to make it easier to read in my styles.css, I'm gonna select the button and I'm gonna make it display block so it takes up its own level. And then for the paragraph tag, the color is gonna be, I don't know, green, something ugly and easy. This is just me making it visually easier to see what's happening on the page, right? Because otherwise the paragraph will be next to the button and it'll look weird and crap like that. Out of curiosity, my server's still running. I'm gonna refresh this page and added the button. Okay, good to know. I didn't have to like load index.html again or refresh the server. It just served whatever's in there. So I refreshed it and it automatically served this code to me. And the button is in here and and it's working.
Actually, I'm gonna do the same thing.
Okay.
All right. Oh, I get it. Because you did that. I'm gonna go.
Let me know when you're ready to go into app.js.
No, yeah, sorry, I'm reformatting.
You're good.
To have it similar to yours, because when
don't forget,
because I just looked at yours and your button is below your header and mine was above it, so I just had to modify it real quick.
Cool.
Got it.
Ready to code some JavaScript?
Let's do this.
All right, brother. Const, and we called it get text, right? Is that what we called it in HTML? I already forgot. Yeah, get text, camel case. No arguments, arrow function.
Ooh, not 90. I'm ready
text.
for it.
It's gonna. I was thinking.
Oh, thought you were looking at me like.
No. I'm looking at my other monitor, thinking about something. We could do a fetch request, or we could do a jQuery AJAX request. Shouldn't really matter.
I haven't used AJAX. If that helps you make a decision.
Okay, I haven't used AJAX in a while either, so this could be kind of dumb in how it works. So jQuery.ajax, like so. AJAX is going to take an object as its argument. We're going to expand that. And it takes a URL, which will be a string,
Okay.
which should just be API or just this. I'm fairly certain. Like our home route, right? Type will be a string that says get. And then this, in React, you would set state to trigger a refresh, or trigger a re-render rather, right? And God, they'll refresh the page though and fuck it up. All right, Luke, think. How would I do this otherwise? Fetch API chirps. I'd have to do something on success. Okay, so it takes a third argument, which can be a callback function. So on success, if it successfully gets some information, it's going to be handed some data, some kind from our server, right?
Okay, yeah.
And it'll have an arrow function as its response when that happens. And we have in our HTML the paragraph tag that I think I called ID test, right? That's the paragraph tag?
Yes.
Okay. I guess it'll just, I don't know, and whatever the data is. Let's see what happens. Technically, we're getting a string response from the server. This might cause an error, but this will be a function that runs when we click the button, and it should run that code for us. Whether it works or not, I'm not entirely sure, because I haven't done Ajax in a while. So I'm trying to look at the API as we do this. Well, it backfired, but why does the data say hello world? That's my question, because it shouldn't.
Hold on.
I'm gonna test something.
Let me look.
Because it should.
Okay, allow. So,
Okay, append data. That didn't work. You take a second. I'm gonna run my test, which is comment out the jQuery part, and then we're gonna fucking console log every time I click that button what the data is. Okay.
so every time you push the button,
You little bastard. Okay, go to your. I'm gonna one more test. It's grabbing the HTML that it's serving.
Yeah.
So I might have to
that.
program the route to be /test. And I might have to specify this for jQuery, whereas you don't have to for fetch localhost 3000 /test, and I should get some new data instead. Refresh, click me, you fucker.
What's the
You son of a bitch. Not you.
No, yeah, no, I know you weren't talking to me. What's best practice to use, Ajax or fetch?
Fetch will be easier, that's for sure.
Okay.
So core is built in, we have to install it. I don't remember.
Cores?
Yeah, not like Cores Lite, but just Cores. Cores middleware. God damn it, we have to install it. Here. Run this. There. npm install cors -- run it.
Oops. Control C. And install --save cors. Okay.
And then we'll have access to it as such on this line, as in we'll import cores from cores.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, my server. Const cores.
And then we'll use the cores middleware right here in app.useCores.
Yeah. Okay.
And that will allow every route to have a cross-origin reference.
Is that what that stands for?
Mm-hmm. Oh, you fucker. Oh, I have to restart my server. That's why it crashed. I was like, oh, it crashed again. But I turned off my server, which is why it crashed. Right, you bastard. Oh, my fam. Okay.
So let's go back to the server. Refresh. Okay.
It might need the http://. Okay. It finally worked. Reformat your app. Right. First off, are you caught up on your server.js? You've installed cores as a dependency.
Yes.
You've imported it up top, and you've applied it as a middleware.
Correct.
Have you changed this to /test and not just /?
I have not.
Okay. Do so.
Okay.
The response.send will be the same though.
Okay. Hello from serverland.
Okay. And app.js, the URL is very specific, which has http:// localhost3000/test, which is the route we just programmed, and it should fucking respond with hello from serverland now, right? Just like before.
Localhost 3000/test. Type get success data, then #test append data. Okay.
Because that should be this ID test, right?
Okay. Yes.
Was it append or be inner text? It's a good question. What do you think? I don't remember. Because we're changing. Oh God, it's been like 2 weeks since we did jQuery, and I'm already lost.
Tell me about it. This is how every day goes for me. So it should just be I thought it should just be append because you're just appending the data to the.
Yeah, like a text, right? Or we can do. I think it's. Wait, hold on. .text. That's the one. Right? I think that makes sense. Or is that not correct? Let's try append.
No.
Why complicate it?
Well, I think that I think it could work because I mean, all you're doing is just saying, just take whatever data, put it into a text format, and then put it in that div, or not the div, but that element. But append should work the same way.
All right,
right?
fuck it. What's my motto? Let's just give it a shot and see what the hell happens.
Just try it. See if we break it.
Yeah. Server is running. Confirmed. Refresh the page.
Yep.
Ready?
And click me. Not found.
What?
Fuck me.
No. Have you restarted your server after you changed it to test?
No. Hold on. God damn it.
Click
Okay.
and not found.
Hello from serverland. There we go.
Oh my fam, we got it, boys. You have now written your own Studio Ghibli-esque API. You have one route that we called /test, and it responds with a basic ass string, not connected to anything. And we have done a button that does a GET request now, like a fetch. It's doing a fetch request, just like we did in component did mount, except we attach it to a button click. And when the button is clicked, it does that request, gets some data, and appends the data into a p tag that we have with an ID. We have written essentially our own Hello Ghibli React API lab in the most ghettoest fashion. We wrote our own server with our own API response, which is a GET request that responds with something. And then we have written a function on the front end that gets that information and splashes it on the screen. Fucking cool, in my opinion. Nice. Yeah, that's pretty fucking sick, in my opinion, right there. That's awesome. Jace. The next big one you're going to be using besides get, like we can write get server stuff to the end of time now and be fine, We got this. I think we got this figured out. Let's do something a bit more fun, shall we?
Let's push something to it.
Yeah, okay. I like where your head's at, and we'll write it to file. How about that? So now we're going to go back to our index code.
Yeah.
I guess below the paragraph, we're going to add a form element.
Okay.
I haven't done like raw HTML and jQuery like this in so long. Like I sit here and I'm like, you hear me going, we're gonna trying to think about it to make sure I can like not lead us down the wrong road again. What the hell? What?
Are you looking up your old code?
Yeah, it's garbage. It's horrible. But where? No, I don't want the modal. I want the form. Okay, cool. Just making sure I can do this correctly. In the form, we're going to have 2 inputs. No. Well, you want to do 1 or 2 for learning?
Let's do 2. Let's
Okay.
reinforce it.
All right, that's what I'm talking about. I'm going to give it a placeholder. First one will be name. I'm just going to copy and paste this real quick.
Oh, you capitalize name. Okay.
Oh, my bad. Don't capitalize that. Well, that's the placeholder. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I'm so lost in HTML. This is terrible. This is embarrassing. Name and I don't know. How about chirp?
All right.
We've already been dealing with that so much as is. We might as well go ahead and keep doing so, right?
Might as well.
And with jQuery, you know, remember Landers like, you don't really use ID a lot. I'm like, yeah, watch me. I'm gonna use it right here. ID of name.
I mean,
ID.
ID's nice, but I mean, it just sucks because you can only reference one thing.
Yeah, exactly. But for this particular demo, that's all we need to reference. So
True statement.
that's all I gotta say. And inside the form, I guess we'll have a button again. Add chirp or something. Add chirp. And again, it'll have an on click. And this will be post chirp function camel case. Right? Okay, I refreshed the page and there it is. And it looks like, okay, cool. We're on the same page here, homie?
We are.
Yeah?
Ooh, what is that?
Hmm.
I don't know. I'm like, because we don't have the button set up to anything right now.
Oh no. It just refreshes it just refreshes the page because it's inside a form.
Yeah. And I keep getting like, because I just saw, because like I clicked the button and I saw the uncaught syntax error, whatever it was.
Also, how cool is it that because we hardwired our functions in here, we didn't have to write an event listener with a click that fires off the function from within our JavaScript. We just hardwired the fucker directly and didn't have to select this button by button class and find it in a fucking array or give it a class name or an ID name. We hardwired it, just give me the goddamn function to run from app.js.
That's pretty gnarly.
Yeah. So now I gotta write this one, which is const post chirp, right?
Yep. All right.
We'll do something.
Post chirp equals boom boom. Whoops. Get my spaces. Okay, and then so for learning purposes, since we already did Ajax, for the next one you want to use fetch. If we
let's just continue using Ajax. Let's just keep it consistent. Otherwise, you might get confused. But
okay.
they're like same but different.
Okay.
It's like the worst possible way to describe it. But jQuery Ajax will be a function that takes an object as its only argument, and that object will have a bunch of garbage on it as usual. Now we haven't written this route yet, but we're going to assume we're going to write a route that's going to be http://localhost 3000 / I don't know, add chirp. Here we go. I'll call it add chirp. There we go. One word. Very specific. The type will be post this time. That's how you add shit to a database. And
does it have to be capitalized?
What, post?
Post or get or?
I think so.
Actually,
I've always done it. Well, you can change get to lowercase and click the button and see if it still works. Let me know while I look at my code.
Actually, I think I just answered my own question because I looked at mine and the first letter is capitalized, but the rest of it's not for get.
Oh, okay.
And it still works fine.
Good to know.
Okay.
And we're going to be posting some kind of data, obviously, right?
Okay. Oh, let's take.
Do you like doing like objects in line, or would you rather like write out the variables and then pass the variables? Like, so when I did like the would you rather have me done like this in line down here in client directory, or you like putting long stuff into a variable and then passing that variable instead?
You know, either way works, but I do like the inline just because it shortens it up and it doesn't become cluttered, like you said.
Okay, this one might be a bit more confusing that way, but I can do it anyway. So the data would either be some kind of variable we pass to it, or it's going to be however we format this fucker, which we're going to make it into a JavaScript object.
Okay.
Like this. And the object will have a key of name. And the value of name will be jQuery select our input ID of name. I think you can see where this is going. And it give me the val of that input field, comma, comma. Uh-oh, how do I do this in line? Maybe we can't do it in line. Oh, okay, never mind. I was like, what the fuck? I guess I had that semicolon there was messing it up. I don't know why I tried to include the semicolon. And the chirp will be the ID input of chirp dot val. There we go. That is the object we're passing into our code as the post request, right? We won't have anything on the front end that will indicate it's working, but we can check our server code to see if it is working. So theoretically, it is now wired up correctly. But before we can begin testing it, we have to come into our server. So we're going to probably go ahead and just turn this off while I'm thinking about it. And we're going to write our next route.
Server routes to HTTP request. Okay, and then you come down underneath that, and I guess we would say app.push.
Post.
Post.
And we called it add chirp on the front end, right? Like that?
Yes.
As you can imagine, it takes a rec and a res. And it does something. Okay. Without some kind of middleware, we do not have access to this rec.body, because that's what's being sent via a post request. The body of whatever request we're sending, right? So when I click the post button, it makes a post request, aka it goes, okay, is there one coded here? Yes, there's an app.post coded. Does it match the route he specified? It does. He made a post request, and a post request has a rec.body object, and the body is another object that has the keys of name and chirp on it. So rec.body.name is a name, rec.body.chirp is a chirp. But our server doesn't know how to parse this out. It doesn't have this built in. So we have to have another fucking middleware that allows us to use rec.body. There are two ways to handle this. For fetch, you do express.json. I'm fairly certain. We might end up doing both just to cover our bases, or try one and then the other, because we might as well learn something, right?
I'm learning right now. I don't know what you're talking about.
So like we don't have access to rec.body. So check this out. Console.log rec.body. Just do that, like so. Okay. And then our response will send it maybe logged, I don't know. Right? That's the response. Just to make sure it doesn't hang up on this request. We have to give it some kind of response or pass next, remember? So we're just going to give it may be logged, I don't know. And we'll see what happens here. So I'm going to restart my server. And the console log for the server happens in the terminal you're running the server. So if it console logs correctly, it'll pop up underneath this listening on port 3000.
All right, so let's run the server.
So for demo, I'm moving my HTML to the other side of the screen, to my other monitor, so you can watch me click the button to see if it works. I'm going to click add chirp. Ready?
Go ahead.
Undefined.
All right, here. I just did the same thing.
Okay,
so,
and you got undefined, right?
Refreshing.
Yeah. Restart the server, refresh the page.
Add chirp, and my terminal doesn't say anything.
Did you add in some text to the inputs, or you just click the button? Well, I'm getting undefined every time I click the button.
Hold on, let me make sure I got mine set up right.
Okay.
Yeah, so I have mine set up. App.post, add chirp, rec res, console log, rec body, res.send, and mine says, I don't know.
Yeah. App.js, is this wired up correctly, perhaps?
App.jQuery, Ajax, URL, localhost 3000 add chirp, type post, name, that's right.
Data as another object, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's right. My indexed HTML, my IDs are name and chirp.
Your onClick is wired up correctly?
Oops, right there. Button on click, post chirp function. Yeah. Or callback function. All right.
Yeah, this just says on the click, fire this JavaScript function, which we have written here.
All right. I'm going to refresh this like 3 times.
Yeah. Close the server, rerun the server.
All right.
That's always like a good starting point before you start freaking out that your code's wrong. Close the server, restart the server, refresh the page like 10 times, and try again. That's my personal method that I stand by.
Okay. So, exited the server, rerun the server. Listening on port 3000. Cool. Refresh the page. Click me works. Got it. Add chirp. Refreshes the page, and then
like it should.
Yep. And I'm still getting nothing.
The fuck?
You want to see what I'm doing?
Yeah. Share with me. Maybe, are you using the inline terminal or your own terminal?
I'm using my own terminal.
Okay, I thought that might have been the issue. Because the inline one sometimes behaves strangely. That's strange, though. Oh,
there it is. Oh, no wonder. All right, can you see me?
Mm-hmm.
All right, let me close that. Boom. I'm going to move you out the way. All right, so here's me. All right, I'm exiting the server. Go back to my code, and I'm right here. So that's right. All that's right.
Yep, agreed.
Server.js. All that's right.
Agreed.
Okay. App.js.
Localhost : 3000. Oy vey.
Okay, let's see. Boom. Listening on port. Boom. Refresh. Add chirp. Still got nothing. Go back, and I'm getting undefined.
Got it. Okay, now you're console logging something that is not defined anymore.
All right, and I'm going to stop share.
Okay, going back to mine.
Okay.
Whoo child. Okay, so like I said, rec.body is how you access the body of whatever's being sent as a request. But in order to do that, we have to apply 1 or 2 separate middlewares to make the fucker work. Right? Hold on, I was looking at the Discord again. And the middlewares are built into Express. We're going to try one first to see if it works. So we're going to add a new middleware. And when I say that, you should be like app.use because we have a middleware we're applying. It is a middleware that's built onto Express itself, and it's called URL encoded. And there it is, URL encoded. And it is a function that is going to fire as middleware. This will make old school HTTP post requests readable in your server. The other one you could possibly use is express.json. But we're not passing a JSON, we're just passing an object, so I don't think we need it. Okay, so I'm gonna add a comment actually. So just so you're aware. That would possibly be the other middleware we might need to get rec.body. This one allows us to pass JSON objects and get them and have them readable in a rec.body. This one does old school post requests from HTML that are just JavaScript objects or something like that, and it converts them to be readable as rec.body. So this one, or both at the same time, it won't hurt you to go ahead and put in both. But I'm testing something right now, which is this URL encoded. This says, check out the HTML and the URLs being sent this way. On the request, is there some kind of data? There is. Well, if there is, then encode, decode it using URL encoded on Express, and then now rec.body should become available for us to start using in the code. That's the smallest possible change, aka restart that shit. Oh, okay, we fucked something up already. So between my old lab and this one, body parser is deprecated. So URL encoded actually needs something. URL encoded takes an object as its argument, and it has extended, and just hit false for now. Because extended says, how is it going to allow a super long object or a pretty short one? And we're dealing with a short one, so we're not going to say extended true. Okay, because you're not going to deal with anything that crazy in the early labs.
Okay.
Okay. So that's just an option that just makes this fucker work. All right, again, no deprecated error this time.
Listening on port 3000.
You're successful?
I am.
Okay. Now go to your HTML, possibly refresh, do a name and a chirp, and let's see what pops up in the console log.
Hold on, go to my name. Oh, wait, you say go to my HTML?
Yeah, HTML, add something into the inputs on both of them, and then click add chirp.
Oh, all right. Let's see. Let me refresh. Name. We'll do. And add chirp. And it pops up. Name. I hope, and this works.
You got it?
Yeah.
It's in your terminal.
Yeah, in my terminal, I got listening on port 3000, and then curly braces, name.
Yes.
I hope, and then chirp. This works.
You have now coded your first HTTP post request where we send some information from a front-end client to our local development server we are currently running, and it responded as we expected. So now if you had an API that people could add info into, this is how you do it. And then you add to the database, or something simple as an example, instead of console logging it. So now we have access to this. Check this out. We can do let name equal rec.body.name, and we could do let chirp. This is on the server side now, rec.body.chirp, because we have access to both those keys on the body object now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Pretty cool. Well, we don't have to do this, but I was showing you an example that, like, you can do this now if you want to make it easier to understand what's happening, right? Now you can pull that stuff off and play with it in your JavaScript code if you wanted to, but whatever. You can leave that or comment it out for now, doesn't matter. What we're going to do instead is we're going to import file system. You got FS required?
Yeah, I just did it.
Cool. Let's say now we're going to write file. And it's going to have a path.join. That's typical stuff when you do a write file, right? Like your syntax for it. And we'll do it in this directory, and we'll call it Chirps.json. Real fucking original, right?
What'd you do? Oh.
The 3 arguments for write file. The absolute path, which we get around by doing a path.join, and we're going to call it chirps.json whenever it writes or overwrites itself, correct?
Correct.
The second argument is the data you want to write, but it's going to be a JSON, and we're being passed an object. So we're going to do a JSON.stringify to turn the object into a JSON. And it can also take 3 arguments if you want to keep it clean looking, which will be, the first one is rec.body. That's the data. 0 and 2. You following with that?
I am.
Rec.body is the object we're trying to JSONify, essentially. And then the third argument was a callback function in case an error happened.
Whoops. I'll just do ERR.
Yeah. And then
error function, boom. And then if error console.log console.log here.
Okay.
All right.
I don't have any confirm message or anything like that. I kept it simple. So I'm gonna close my server and restart it. And if all is successful, if we click the click me button on our HTML and come back and look at our code, we should see a chirps.json appear with what we type on the front end.
All right, so let's go. Let's just type in the same thing. I hope.
Yeah.
Whoops. I hope this works. Add chirp. And then let's go back to the code. Chirps.json. Isn't that what you said it would be?
Yeah, it's server chirps.json.
Ah, there it is. Okay.
Is it there?
It is. I now have a JSON file with name.
And you caused that to happen from your fucking HTML. How cool is that?
So that's how it works. Okay. You know, thinking about it, like, because this is basically the same thing as like you were talking about earlier today in regards to like when we were talking about MySQL and the databases that they have are pulling from essentially like these JSON files, right?
Right.
And which reverts back to your HTML page. So let's say like this was somewhere where I had to, you know, create an account or something like that.
Yep.
Like
Yep.
just do the name, you know, just type in your information and name and chirp if that was what it required. And then when you click add chirp, it creates the JSON. Then that JSON gets reverted into the database. And then that database is what stores it for the company to use.
Yep. And you'd have like your app.get/users or users with an ID if you want to get one user. And you could query your database saying, hey, select from the users table where the parameter my server has of parameter 5. Mm-hmm. Select where parameter 5 is equal to database ID 5. That user is Michael. Send that back as a response. It sends back an object that has every single column with your information, like first name, Michael, last name, Stringer, username, mstringer, password 123. It sends that back, and here you send that as a response. The front end gets it, and then boom, you can make the page refresh with that information, or if it's React, set state, and it renders the new information on a button click, or a component did mount. Whew. That's the full stack, dude. I think you got it, because you understood the flow right there.
Yeah.
It's pretty sick, isn't it?
It's like a circle.
It's a big circle. It's a big circle, Jerick. That's all development life is. This is more than enough to probably for you to annihilate the first lab without too much issue, including
the Express lab you're talking about.
The Express. yeah, lab ExpressJS. And you'll annihilate even the advanced section at this point. And then building an API will be similar, except instead of writing just app.get, you'll learn how to do something like this. We create the server, we create the middleware. Custom routes, like you can write universal routes for responses, or you can write these as universal route responses, right? That's fine. But what happens if you have 300 routes that your server handles? It's gonna be a long ass file, right?
Yeah, that'd be huge.
So instead of doing this, you don't have to code along with me with this. This is the next lecture that you'll be learning. So this is just
Okay.
a foray into the next section, which we can cover tomorrow or move forward on, depending on how you feel.
All right.
So,
I'm just gonna sit back and
yeah,
relax and watch.
now just chill for a second.
All right.
This is built into Express, and we could, and every writing a route, a custom route, is just another piece of middleware that we can make our app use if we wanted to. So let me double check. Double check the syntax before I say it wrong and confuse you. Come tomorrow, right?
Yeah, that'd be bad. Come in tomorrow. Luke, you told me it was this way, but then they're saying this way.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. We're going to add a new folder and we're going to call it routes. This is where we're going to handle, because your server might have like some services that it does, some other custom like middleware you start writing and put it in your own directories. And you might have a directory that handles all your routes. That way they're all stored in one fucking location, right? And remember what I was saying with ES6, with syntax of importing, that if you import a directory, it checks for an index.js file. So in server.js, if we import via like this, const, we're going to call it API router. It doesn't matter what we call it, as long as we're consistent in the file we're calling it in, remember?
Yeah.
Same idea. It's going to be const API router. It's going to require the relative path to the routes. So it's going to be this directory / routes and nothing else. We're not going to specify a file. But because we didn't specify a file and we just specified a directory, it's going to go, a directory. I'm going to look for an index.js file. There it is. And then it'll work out of here next. And so whatever we program into routes now, we have available as API router, right? So you have your code on your screen, so I'm going to delete that.
Yeah.
Cool, just to declutter my shit.
No, you're good.
So like I said, a route that you program is nothing more than middleware. And how do we use middleware? App.use. If we're using a router, there's 2 arguments, just like before. The route we want to use, which on this level we're going to call API, and the router that's going to use /API, which we imported as API router. So now, in order to access this, we go to localhost 3000 /API / whatever we specify in here to the next route. So now we can start nesting shit together. So let's say I did this. Now I kind of regret deleting all that code because I wanted to copy and paste it. Can you DM me the app.get and the app.post real quick?
Yeah.
Cool. Then after I finish this little foray, I'm gonna let you go so I can eat dinner, go to the gym, and then see how Richard feels.
Oh, you're good.
Okay.
Yeah, this was plenty
is
for me to work on
yeah.
tonight.
Okay, so I've created another new file called chirps.js. I'm gonna say this one's gonna handle my get and post requests for possibly reading a chirp or sending a chirp or posting a chirp, right? So we're going to need to specify this is going to be an Express router. So we have to bring in Express. Require Express. Okay. And yeah, and then we're going to say this is going to be a new Express router, like so. Express.router. Coolio. Now we can write the same fucking methods we did before, except instead of saying the word app, we use the word router, because say, hey, this local instance, this one we just created only in this file of router, is going to be a chirp router, and it's going to be this router has a get, and let's say we'll call this one /hello, And we're gonna leave this as add chirp for now, because /test and this doesn't make too much sense, right? So now that we've coded a GET request and a POST request on this router, we have to export it so we can use it somewhere else, right? So we used to do export default or export, right? But the old school syntax is this, module.exports. And you can just say router. So this is saying take router, which is this guy that we have programmed with these responses, take this guy and export it so we can use it somewhere else. All right, we done skis. This is done. And actually now I have to change this because this will now produce the chirps JSON inside of routes, right?
Yes.
So now I gotta go up to overwrite this one. Okay. Other than that, it should be fine. Cool. So now this is the index.js inside my routes directory. Bear with me. This is also going to be another fucking router, which means we need const express equals require
It's
express.
like React all over again.
And we're going to be importing the router we made in chirps. And we're going to call it, I don't know, chirps router. Equal require. Oh my God. Yeah. It's going to require this directory /chirps.js, like so. Okay. Now we can make another new express router, and we can use the express router we wrote for chirps router all together. And we're going to create a new router, just like I did before. And because these are all locally scoped, we're not overriding our routers constantly. We're creating new ones every single time we do this. That's why it's not overriding each other every time I do let router equal express.router, right? And we're going to say this router is going to use whatever we coded in chirps router. So router.use. And we're going to call it /chirps. And /chirps will be using our chirps router, like so. Okay. Now we're going to export this guy, like so. Export the router universally. And then what we're exporting here, this router we're exporting, is the one we're importing here as API router. So localhost port 3000 /API. API router is in routes, which is the index route. The index route goes, okay, there's another router that's called /chirps. Okay, now we go into /chirps. And now when we do localhost 3000 /API /hello, we'll get hello from serverland. Localhost 3000 /API /chirps /add chirp, we can add chirp. So I'm going to go into my app.js and aptly reflect the two new API routes we have written by doing some exporting and importing. I called it chirps, didn't I? My bad. Oh, I was going to do a fucking error again. Double checking, chirps, plural. Okay. Whew, boy. So we haven't really coded anything new. All we've done now is change the architecture and shown you that I can now create like users.js, follow the same format, go in this index.js, import it here, call it route.use /users, users router, and then all of a sudden we then would have API /users that would have its own set of get, post, put, delete methods for all users in your table. Kind of see how I'm expanding? This is how you scale it up to have like 50 routes that handle specific things, and how you're not going to have to code everything in one file.
Got it.
Yeah, pretty funky, right?
So literally, it literally is the same mentality as what we did in React, except yeah.
Ready?
I mean, you're still doing the same. Like you're still doing relative paths. You're still doing everything. Okay. Good thing I understand React now. Okay,
so I didn't really change anything. All I did really is change the routes. So like I expanded the routes to be an API /something. And I reflected it in my app.js like this, as you can see. But it should still post the same request. And so we're going to overwrite this chirps JSON, and let's see what happens. Actually, I'm going to delete it. And when I click add, you'll see it add right here, right?
Yeah,
if I did this correctly. No, don't autofill with that, please. Stop. And butthole. It failed. Why did it fail?
Hold on, let's see.
FS is.
Uh,
So we had it imported here, but because we moved it, I forgot to import it here. So because we're using FS,
weren't you using FS in the other one too?
I was. So like I had it here, and we're no longer using it.
Oh,
here. So
I see. You took it out. Okay.
Cut it, and I pasted it where we are using it, which is in the goddamn chirps router.
Got it.
Change server code, which means stop, restart.
There it goes.
I'm gonna try again. Fuck,
Path.
I forgot path because we do a path.join. This is ridiculous.
Hey, it's all right.
Hey, I mean, if it shows me anything, I fall for the same traps. So, like I said, you just get faster at debugging them, right? There it is.
It is.
Rip shit.
Nice.
This lab rip shit. Whew.
All right.
Yeah, you have the code for part 1, which will let you slay lab 1. Next lab is pretty much this in a different kind of way. But it'll also, I'll upload this to my YouTube and send you the link because I got to send it to Nathan so he can watch it too. And I have no doubt that it will help you guys slay the next lab without any issue whatsoever.
He's probably gonna watch this and be like, "Oh man,
Another
they went
3-hour lab. Oh no.
No, not even that. Just like, oh, they went off topic so many times."
Yeah.